Operation Market Garden is a two-stage invasion to secure all the bridges along a narrow corridor extending approximately 80 miles into Holland, from Eindhoven in the south to Arnhem in the north. With Arnhem in Allied hands, the objective is to get around German defences at the Siegfried Line and cross the Rhine. It is a daring plan with strong elements of risk, but if it succeeds, the war could be over within a matter of weeks. Operation Market Garden has been set for September the 17th. The battle plan specifies that the 1st British Airborne Division will take the all-important bridge at Arnhem. The American 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions will be responsible for securing the bridges to the south at Nijmegen and Eindhoven. Once these strategic bridges are taken intact, it is estimated that the British Second Army should reach Arnhem within 2 days. September the 17th, 1944. The British paratroopers have to land several miles to the west of Arnhem because of heavy German flak concentrations around the city. The 1st Parachute Brigade set off for the road bridge over the Rhine. Other units in the first wave must wait in the landing zones until the second drop has arrived.
It was actually a textbook drop. There was very little opposition both along the route and on the drop zones or landing zones for gliders themselves. Where this would change is once they got off the landing zones or the drop zones and started to move towards their objectives. By dropping away from the objective, they have lost the element of surprise that the Germans in the area have now been notified that there are airborne drops, and they would find that they would have to fight their way to their objectives in almost every case.
The Germans recover quickly from their initial surprise. Reinforcements are rushed in. Orders go out to hold the bridges at all costs, and that further landings can be expected and must be firmly resisted. The invasion intentions are exposed when the Germans capture a complete copy of the Allied battle plan from an Allied troop glider that is shot down.
Field Marshal Walter Model at first refused to believe that the captured Allied battle plan was real. It seemed to him incredible that someone would carry such a valuable document in an airborne operation where it was quite likely to fall into enemy hands.
The British have managed to obtain a foothold at the northern end of the Arnhem Bridge, but soon fresh German reinforcements arrive and it becomes more difficult to secure the southern end. There would be greater resistance from the Germans than anticipated. In the Nijmegen area, the American 82nd Airborne has managed to take their objectives. The town of Grave has been captured, and the Maas River is crossed. At Eindhoven, the American 101st Airborne approaches the town on schedule, but has been stopped by strong German resistance. Units of the British Second Army have crossed the Dutch border and have begun their drive northwards. Rocket-firing Typhoon fighter planes cut a path for them. But all these operations are of no use unless they can link up with Arnhem, now in dire need of reinforcements.
When the parachute battalions came off the drop zone to move towards the bridge, they became embroiled in house-to-house fighting.
The Germans had to recapture Arnhem house to house against skillful British resistance. Eventually, the Germans began to use phosphorus rounds simply to set fire to the buildings and burn their opponents out.
Now, the area itself is very thickly wooded, and the British advance is actually channelized into these ambushes, and there's virtually no other way to go around them.
The next day, in the early afternoon, the second airdrop takes place. Since the Germans have the battle plans, they are well prepared.
By having the plan and also by seeing where the drop zones were still being maintained from the first day, the Germans were able to zero in exactly on where the follow-on supplies were going to come in the follow-on drops. So it was no mystery to the Germans as to what the plan was. The British would be parachuting from only several hundred feet with machine gun bullets that are being sprayed in an area. The guys that are hanging under these parachutes are helpless. They are helpless to shoot back in most cases, and they are helpless to get down any faster than they can fall.
With heavy German ground opposition, many of the parachute troops are shot as they descend. Trying to avoid gunfire, others land in trees and become hopelessly entangled. The drop is also a disaster for the aircraft.
The transports came in so low, only a few hundred feet off the ground, that even light anti-aircraft weapons were able to engage both the transports and the paratroops as they jumped. In some cases, paratroops were captured as soon as they landed. In other cases, gliders caught fire on the landing zones.
The Germans continue to pick off the paratroopers and the aircraft. Since the Allies have no backup plans, the planes continue to come under heavy fire. The Germans are able to capture a glider filled with British troops and equipment. The prisoners are immediately marched away in defeat. The fighting to the west of Arnhem has now come down to house and garden to garden. Germans are found firing from holding positions in cellars. Concern grows among the beleaguered British units now running out of ammunition. The first British airborne will be wiped out if reinforcements do not arrive soon.
British had attempted to parachute to their troops additional supplies and ammunition, but most of those supplies, in fact, fell into German hands.
The struggle for Arnhem becomes a pitched battle waged in the streets of the town. Neither side is sure where the other is hiding, which makes every street corner a possible trap. With the British grip on the Arnhem Bridge loosening, German tanks are able to push into the area at a swift rate. The British force has been decimated. Their one hope is that they can hold on until the Second Army units push up from the south.
Each soldier carried rations for a couple of days and a basic load of ammunition. This was approximately 100 bullets, generally 2 hand grenades. Their resupply was supposed to come by air on the second and third days. For the battalion that made it to the bridge, there was no resupply, because once they were at the bridge, they were encircled and were cut off.
By September the 21st, the bridge at Nijmegen is crossed and British land forces reach the southern edge of the Rhine, opposite Arnhem. But the German panzers launch a massive counterattack. The British are forced back from the bridge and German tanks roll across unopposed.